And now, the Lafayette Food Junkie Show, served up medium rare every Sunday night.
Welcome to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany. Here we talk about all the food happenings around Acadiana. If you like food, tune in. You might learn something new. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hot off the presses, as in I just found out a few hours ago, there is a new soul food restaurant that is opening in Fightonville. It's actually going to be in the location where Acadiana Grilled Cheese was located. Right now, they are a food truck out in front of the location. And I had a friend that posted some pictures of the barbecue plate lunch today, and it looked mighty fine. He had a big old helping of macaroni and cheese, and I am going to have to go and check that out and taste it and see what it's all about. I'm excited that they're going to have something in that location. Black Cafe is over there, and I've mourned the loss of Acadiana Grilled Cheese. I really miss that restaurant being over there. So I'm happy that something else is going to be over there. Also, I was on Evangeline Thruway today, and I saw this little food shack that's opening up, and I believe it's called Greedy's. And it looks like it's going to be a sandwich shop. It had like this guy who was grinning really big, eating a sandwich. So that's all I can assume from that. And that's all the information I have on Greedy's Food Shack, which is opening on the Evangeline Thruway. Christina Shirillo is joining us tonight. She is the Primitive Paleo. I've been following her on Instagram and enjoying her posts that she's been doing. And I wanted to have her on the show tonight to give some insight into paleo living and lifestyle. How do you feel about Acadiana grilled cheese? And then I'm talking about mac and cheese right off the bat.
I don't think I've mourned the loss.
Yeah.
I don't think I tried it, actually. So that's pretty unfortunate. But that's okay. I can live vicariously through you.
So they had a grilled cheese called the Boudin Wrangler. And it had...
That sounds dangerous.
It had cheddar cheese, a fried egg, and boudin, and it was like grilled. And then they served it with this dipping sauce. It was almost like a crawfish dipping sauce. It was pretty much my hangover cure. It was good stuff. I made one at home one time, but it still doesn't. I miss that sandwich so much.
I can work on that for you. I'll work on like a paleo version.
Can you make a paleo version of that?
Boudin might be a little hard.
I know. Okay, so we were talking about before the show that a while back, like 3 years ago, I did keto pretty hardcore, and I lost almost 100 pounds doing it. I didn't eat boudin, and everyone knows that I'm pretty obsessed with boudin now. In fact, I have like a friend who is vegan, and she would break for boudin. Like, she even had to have boudin. So I didn't even like think about that before until just now that, I can't
go without boudin.
It has the right.
It's in your blood.
Yeah.
You were born.
God. All right. We're going to talk more about paleo a little later in the show, but obviously we're off to a good start with my eating habits. I also checked out the Harry Potter event that Tribe Collective did. They came on the show last week to promote it. And I got there right at 2:00. There was already a line of people waiting to get in, which was a good sign. Lots of kids in costumes, lots of wands, super adorable. They had it decorated to the T. I got some butterbeer, and it was delicious. It had a lot of whipped cream on it, and it tasted like cream soda. And then I also got a chocolate frog because I just thought it was so cute. But they had also like shepherd's pie. They had this weed looking stuff, willy weed or some gully weed. I'm such a Harry Potter fan, right? I didn't read the books. I did see the movies, and I was always fascinated by the food in the movies. So I think that it's cool that they did this event around the food that was in the movies. What else did they have? They had like little snitch truffles.
They had the in the pots. What was it?
Oh, the mandrake.
Yes.
And a couple of kids. Okay, so I don't know what it's supposed to taste like from the book. I don't remember the mandrake from the book or the movie, I should say, since I haven't read the book. But a lot of kids were talking about how bitter it was. Oh. And they didn't really like the taste. But I think that was the point. of it. Like it was supposed to taste that way. I don't know. But they were having such fun. There was also pumpkin juice, but I didn't try the pumpkin juice. I didn't make it there. But
what about Boudin?
There was no Boudin.
No Boudin. Okay.
I don't think there's any Boudin in Harry Potter.
Okay.
If there was, maybe I would have paid a little more attention to it and been excited for that aspect of it. They're doing really cool events over at Tribe Collective, and pretty much the last couple of events that I've been to there have been jam packed. Like we had to sit outside, and then it got really crowded. Like it's a small space, but it's nice that people are embracing it. You like.
Oh my gosh, I love Tribe Collective. Melody is just amazing. We went to Cafe Vermilionville for dinner the other night, and we were sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need something sweet right now. And of course, I mean, everybody probably is going to victimize me for not ordering their bread pudding, but Tribe Collective is right across the street.
Literally, they have paleo options.
Yes, and so I literally sprint across Pinhook and went to Mel, and
were you in heels? That's what I need to know.
Yes, okay. I was. That was it's talent.
Yeah.
So I sprint across Pinhook and I made it, and I got. They have this like completely decadent flourless chocolate cake.
Yes.
Which has been my birthday cake for like 2 years in a row. And I'm contemplating it being third year in a row. It's amazing. And I got a big slice of that. I got their red velvet detox cake. They have tons of little paleo, like the Nookie cookie, all super nutrient dense, amazing words like gluten-free, grain-free, vegan, the whole 9 yards. So it's definitely my kryptonite.
I told Hannah when she came on the show last week that she saved my butt because I made the mistake of promising kids ice cream and forgetting one of the kids' allergies. And then so we took them to Tribe Collective, and they each got a goodie and loved it. And she was running it was a pistachio goat cheese cheesecake that I got that had like honey on it. It was so
That sounds good.
I had to share a little bit with the kids. I kind of wanted to hide in the bathroom and eat it. Like, I know how parents probably feel now when like they don't want to share their food, but they kind of have to share their food. And that's the moment that I was having. I did share my food. People listening, I did. I was a good adult, but I didn't want to share the cheesecake.
I don't share food.
I wanted to kind of hoard it.
Yeah, there should be like a meme plastered on my forehead that says like, don't ever ask me for a bite of my food.
See, and that's like a food lover thing in me that I'm always like, oh, this is so good. Taste this. So I do share it. I've been known to share with complete strangers. It's happened sometimes. And I did share with them, but then they were coming back for more. And I was kind of like, no, I don't.
It was just a bite. Thank you.
You just had your bite. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
And that's true. That's like the chef in me too. Like I'm always wanting to feed everyone around me, and like the hospitality side of it is my favorite. But whenever we sit down, like if we're at a dinner and you look at my plate of food and you ask me, I will offer you a bite, but don't ask me for the bite.
I never ask, but I'm always just like, ooh, that looks good. And then if they're like, you want a bite? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And then I'll just have like the one bite, and it's fine. But share in moderation.
Correct.
Is the moral of that story.
Correct.
After last week's show, I went to Jason's Deli, and for a while back, I was pretty obsessed with Jason's Deli. I used to eat there once a week, and my obsession is because, okay, for one thing, they have a great soup selection. And when I'm sick, I always order like a bunch of soup and like stick it in my fridge. So really great soup selection. And then also their sandwiches. And they have a really nice salad bar. Sometimes these salad bars are disgusting looking, and theirs is always so fresh and so clean. So I feel like it's a good obsession to have because it can be kind of healthy. And I ate there last night. I got the salad bar because I was feeling like I was trying to be a little healthy, even though my salad probably wasn't the healthiest, but I didn't have bread, which was the point of that. What are your feelings on
We're high-fiving back here, everyone.
What are your feelings on Jason's Deli?
I like Jason's Deli. I am a sucker for any salad bar. So I have been notorious for going to Whole Foods salad bar and buying like $18 worth of a brown box filled with like way too many veggies than I can even put in my body at once. So Jason's Deli, I love because, of course, salad bar. So you can always like go there, just load up on veggies. They have like good nuts and seeds and little toppings. And then you can get some serving of meat or protein to put on top. And they always have olive oil and vinegar, which is my favorite because when salad bars don't have, and they just have the like dressing collection that's super pumped with sugar and additives and nonsense. So that's nice. I like Jason's Deli for that. And it's always slammed. Everyone like Lafayette loves Jason's Deli. I think it's a family affair because you can get so much. So for the non-health nut in your family, you can go there and they can get like this big, ridiculously amazing cheesy bowl of pasta or a sandwich that is kind of half and half. So it's a good balance for sure.
I like that they're open until 11 o'clock at night too. So it's a later option because we went probably around 9 o'clock last night and there wasn't a lot of people in there, but then a lot of people came in after us. So they have like a little late night thing going on. They have good strawberry shortcake too. See, I'm
off topic, strawberry shortcake.
Balance. It's all about balance. You have to have the good and the bad, and we're going to be talking about that later in the show.
Yeah.
So we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, we have more with Christina. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
The best tasting radio show in all of South Louisiana. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and joining me tonight is Christina Cirillo. She is better known as the Primitive Paleo. You can follow her on Instagram, and she has a blog in the works. She's also been doing a lot of cooking classes around town, and she is also a personal chef and dietitian. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so how did this all start?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. Okay, so basically I grew up my entire life as an athlete. Mm-hmm. I started college, stopped playing sports, started eating whatever I wanted and doing whatever I wanted and gained a little bit of weight. And about, I guess, mid-sophomore year, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel horrible. I know that I can perform better than this cognitively. I wanted to get back to my athlete ways. And so I just started researching anything and everything I could about nutrition. And through that, it's kind of evolved a lot. If I look back 4 or 5 years ago, what I thought was healthy then is like polar opposite from now. And so I was like in and out of majors in college and just kind of all over the place. And once I really found that, I started Primitive Paleo. And it was really just a way for me to like channel my passion for nutrition and health and my findings. And all of a sudden I had this huge following and all of this inquiry. And so my business sort of developed and I switched my major to pre-med dietetics and I was like fully in, ready to pursue this new road. So it's been really a transformation. And a lot of tasty food has been made since.
Talking about your major really quickly, what are you focusing on? Because you were telling me that before the show.
So right now I am a study coordinator for Epigenics Foundation and also running 2 metabolic clinics. One metabolic clinic and a cancer immunometabolic clinic. Basically, we are looking at the effect of nutrition intervention and therapy with treating various types of cancers. So specifically right now, breast cancer. And our premise is that cancer cells run on glucose. So if we starve them of glucose by treating them with the ketogenic diet, they will die, hopefully. And we're implementing like fasting, other protocols too that really decrease like tumor size. It's really interesting. And our study ends, it's a 120-day study, and then our clinic results will come after, and I'm really excited to share that with Acadiana. So,
and we were talking about this too, that it's interesting how the medical field kind of hasn't caught up with a lot of what the research is happening, but then it's kind of starting to change. And how, basically we were taught that the more carbs, you're supposed to eat the most carbs. Like that's the biggest part of the food pyramid.
Right.
And how that's kind of changing with these continuous studies that are going on.
Right. Well, and also it's, I do a lot of research now, and there's correlation in research recently, but no causation. So I look at these epidemiological studies and I'm like, okay, sure, you have evidence that this, and this is what we're supposed to be eating, but there's only correlation. So if you look back at like what is causing it, they can't give it to us. And so that brings it to the, like the food pyramid. And I'm even taught that in my program. And, it's pretty the gold standard for nutritionists and the nutrition professionals is to teach the food pyramid and the FDA. But honestly, I tell my clients, anyone that I work with, and, these physicians that I've been brought on with recently, which I'm so grateful for, that we're merging that gap between nutrition and medicine. And they're almost like, what do we do? Because it's like we've been told the wrong thing for 50 years and now the U.S., our health is just shot. But I tell a lot of people, honestly, we would do better if we flip that pyramid upside down right now and quit eating fats and oils sparingly and quit eating 6 to 12 servings of whole grains a day, and low fat dairy and all of these crazy things that I think we've been pumped with, and the big agriculture has really kind of demonized for us. But it's a lot of people think that we should be running on carbohydrate and burning glucose for fuel, when in actuality, that's really, really causing the health epidemic that we're experiencing. So,
okay, so that brings us into paleo. It's kind of a broad term and can mean a lot. Kind of break it down in the simplest of terms, what exactly the paleo diet is.
Okay, I'm not good at simple, so
yeah, we'll try.
we're gonna work on this. Hold up some stop signs, but no. Okay, so paleo. Paleo is basically an ancestral way of eating. So it is by feast and famine, basically, is how I explain it to people. And it consists of eliminating certain foods or food groups. So what you don't eat on paleo is gluten, dairy, grain, soy, legumes, which includes peanuts, sugar, refined sugar, and am I forgetting something? Soy.
Yeah.
And processed vegetable oils. So then it's like, well, what do I eat? You eat a lot of vegetables, a moderate amount of protein / meat, which comes in the form of seafood, poultry, beef, pork,
preferably organic,
grass-fed, pasture-raised, local, as sustainable as you can get your hands on. And then a sparing amount of fruit and nuts and seeds. So it's basically, if you can't pick it, grow it, or kill it, don't eat it. And then there's like the stigma that's, whenever I say that, people are like, well, what about corn and soy or legumes? And, so it's a lot of layers underneath there.
Right.
Yeah.
So why can you not have cheese and beans? Because that's my biggest issue. So when I did keto, I ate beans and I ate cheese, which you thought was kind of crazy, the bean part,
right,
especially. I always considered beans to be a gray area, though, in that they had a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, and it was not meat. And a lot of people automatically assume that this type of diet is all about the meat, and it's really not. It's really supposed to be all about the vegetables. But why can't you have cheese and beans?
Okay, so beans with paleo. The non-sciencey easiest way for people to understand is that beans and legumes kind of can be grouped into one category, right, regarding like their metabolic effect. And that's basically they contain these things called phytic acids and lectins. Both are anti-nutrients. So when you consume beans or legumes, what they do basically is they contain these compounds that, one, create gut permeability. So they're going to bind in your intestines and allow foreign invaders, I guess, to get in there easily, which creates systemic inflammation. And then it can also have another effect, beans and legumes, which is basically binding to other nutrients and preventing their absorption. So it increases the nutritional deficiencies like calcium, iron, zinc, B12, all the really, really substantial like vitamins that produce some pretty serious metabolic reactions. So,
and cheese is kind of the same.
Cheese, actually, I guess dairy would be like the better.
But you can have eggs, right?
Correct.
You just can't have like milk and and cheese.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a few different reasons for like the no dairy, cheese, milk.
Because you can have butter too.
It depends on like who you speak to. Okay. So basically, excuse me, I had a hiccup. Basically, dairy, like 70% of Americans are actually lactose intolerant. So
yes, we're not supposed to be drinking.
We are the only species that
milk.
drinks animal milk after infancy. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty interesting. But anyway, so like 70% of Americans are actually lactose intolerant, but no one goes that long without dairy because it's in our blood to eat dairy, that they don't realize it. But aside from that, so that say you're in the 30% that is not lactose intolerant, dairy is similar. The proteins in dairy, which are whey and casein, very similar molecularly to gluten, which is like the highest allergy compound / inflammatory response. Don't eat gluten, basically. Anyone listening, don't eat gluten. But it's very similar molecularly to gluten. And like for myself, I can tolerate grass-fed butter. But other than that, like if I veg out into the dairy world, my skin flares immediately. I don't have a metabolic response. My body doesn't feel necessarily bad unless I eat like a whole carton of Bluebell. But it just makes my skin break out a lot.
See, for me, I would rather lose an appendage than give up cheese. So when I did keto, I stopped drinking milk. And if I have milk and ice cream now, sometimes it messes with me just because I haven't had it for so long. But like cheese was fine. Like I kept cheese because like I said, I would rather lose my pinky finger than give up cheese. So that part of it is so incredibly hard for me.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk more about this when we come back from break. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
From Boudin to the best burgers Acadiana has to offer, it's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and joining us tonight is Christina Shirillo, who's the Primitive Paleo, and she is shedding some light on the paleo diet. I was listening to the Dr. Drew podcast this past week, and they had a dietitian who was a weightlifter too that was on the show, and he had done a keto study diet for some. My phone just texted and it distracted me. Sorry, everyone listening at home. He did a keto study for this medical organization and really liked it and enjoyed it, and kind of going forward wasn't as hardcore on the keto diet. He said he kind of went more paleo with it, but there's this aspect of fasting that goes with the diet as well, and the whole that word is terrifying to me. So when I think of fasting, I'm thinking you're going a day without eating, and that's terrifying to me. When he was describing it on the show, he said he does a fast from 8 p.m. at night to 8 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, how is that a fast? You're basically sleeping. So can you shed some light onto that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so fasting is not my forte. If you ask my friends what I'm good at, fasting would be like on number 10 on the list. So fasting in the nutrition / medical field area, when they refer to fasting, they mean just giving their metabolic / gastrointestinal system a break. So that can come any period of time. You can fast from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can fast from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So it's any period without food where you're really letting your metabolic system kind of work on what it's been, I guess, consuming. So the benefit of fasting and the benefit of manipulating the way that you eat and the pattern of your eating and the timing is really important. So in the nutrition world, of course, like we've been told, like eat more, move less, eat 6 to 7 meals a day, right? Like that's just the gold standard to really transform your weight and your health. And that's so not true. And the reason for that is because our bodies are not made to be metabolically running in a hyperactive mode 24 hours a day. And if you eat that way, you will be. So you're never going to really absorb this nutrition that you're eating. So a fasting window, what it does is it allows of course, like I said, your GI system to rest, and it kind of gives your hormones a reset. It's basically just like that button that makes sure your homeostatic mechanisms, which is your thermostat in your body, is running well, and it can improve things like insulin resistance with type 1 and type 2 diabetes drastically. I mean, that is like a super benefit of fasting because fasting, when you wake up in the morning, there's two hormones that are really present, and that's cortisol and insulin. Insulin, you're super insulin sensitive in the morning. So if you have a fasting window of 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and you wake up and you eat some eggs and an avocado and bacon, you just set your metabolic health up for greatness for the whole day. So it's when people say fasting, they don't necessarily mean like, oh my gosh, I have to go X amount of hours.
So that's a little less scary for me.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, I can totally do that.
Correct.
Okay.
And you're going to be eating food that if you really, pay attention to what you're putting on your plate, the food that you're eating is going to be so satiating that your body is going to regulate itself that way. So there's times in the day where I'm like not hungry and I maybe should be, but because my systems are so regulated, it's really neat to see that effect. So he probably has the same sort of pattern.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good that I got shed some light on that.
Yeah.
And we were talking about before the show. So I've been trying to do low carb. And being a food writer, being on a restrictive diet, it's a little difficult. And I'll do really good. And I'll have like a few days under my belt. And basically coming off of sugar is like coming off of heroin. I feel like really irritable. You can't sleep. We call it the keto flu, like when your body's detoxing from sugar. So I'll pretty much get to that point where I'm like probably about to go into ketosis, and I get stressed out and bring on the sugar.
Yeah.
And you said that, that's a very common thing for people that are doing this type of diet starting out.
Right. So basically, the problem with that's medical. That's like a term that we use in our metabolic clinics is keto flu.
Yeah.
And a lot of my patients right now are dealing with that. And if any of them are listening, I'm sorry.
It really is like the flu.
Yes, it is.
It really is like the flu.
It is. But so basically, what happens is your body has two forms of fuel. That's glucose and ketone bodies. And we've basically sort of been transitioned into running off of glucose for our whole lives because of what the FDA and the food pyramid kind of tells us. But we were kind of evolutionary. Our track was to perform really efficiently on ketone bodies. And that's how that's what in the womb we were using ketone bodies when we were born. And then all of a sudden you feed a baby rice cereal but now it's more complicated than that. Don't quote me on that.
Now that's what like body is run on.
Yes.
And that's why it's like such a huge ordeal.
It is.
To get it to start running on fat again.
Right. Well, and so just for everyone listening, if you're not familiar, ketone bodies basically are these compounds produced by your liver when your body is using fat efficiently. So using fat as fuel. And it's longer, it's more sustainable. It gives you this insane mental clarity, muscle endurance, just a lot of proven benefits. Glucose, your blood glucose will lower drastically, weight loss. And so basically that period between switching from using glucose as fuel to using fat as fuel is what we call no man's land. And it's like you don't have enough glucose to really feel well and energize and be clear. And then you don't have enough, your liver's not producing enough ketone bodies. So you're just like floating around really tired and
Your
really
sleep patterns are messed up.
You're irritable. You just like don't.
Bathroom habits are weird and whacked off too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for people out there who like maybe switch to this way of eating and like kind of switch their habits a little bit, the first couple weeks, even month, even 2 months can feel really exhausting. But once you kind of switch your metabolism, it changes.
And it gets better. And then your sleep is amazing and great. You feel like you have a lot of energy. For me, like that's how I felt when I did it. Like I definitely noticed the difference from when you're eating this way and then you go back to eating carbs and then we talked about that too, that it's okay to go back and forth.
Correct.
But maybe not
every other day.
Right.
No, it's that's the tough part about kind of owning this business and like being having my name associated as primitive paleo, because people will see me places or eating and they're like, oh my gosh, she's eating cheesecake. And it's
but once you've been on it a while, it's actually a good thing.
It is.
You to come off of it.
That's what I was gonna say is it's nutritional patterns and dietary patterns and eating should always be cyclical, meaning you should not eat the same thing every day for adequacy in your diet, for variety, for balance, for metabolic health, for hormonal fluctuations. You should be spiking various responses in your body that are in charge of your metabolic health. So that's maybe for a couple of weeks, you are eating a higher fat intake than you would for X amount of weeks. And you kind of switch that. And so I find that with myself, I'll go to dinner or I'll go wherever it is and I'll indulge. I'll eat whatever my soul wants me to eat. But it doesn't wreck on my metabolic health. It actually will have some benefit for hormones.
Because it kind of jumpstarts the metabolism, being like, hey, what is this? What is this stuff?
There's 2 hormones in charge of that. And maybe people can they're called ghrelin and leptin. And it's basically your hunger and your non-hunger hormones. And it kind of just resets that a little bit, which is good.
I love following you on Instagram. Because some mornings you have pepperoni with your eggs, and I used to eat pepperoni a lot because it was like a quick little snack. So I'm assuming that some cured meats are okay. So maybe not the cheese on the charcuterie board, but the cured meats are okay.
Yes, correct. So that's funny. There's a few brands of cured meats that I like, mainly sold at like Whole Foods. It's my mecca. I'm literally there like 5 times a day. But Applegate is a really good brand. So when you're shopping for cured meats, you want to look for like no nitrites, no nitrates, uncured, no sugar added. Be careful with the sodium. That's a thing. But, if you can, organic, pasture raised, like porks, any sort of bacon that you're eating. But yeah, if you get a charcuterie board, I went to Dark Roux kind of recently and we got a charcuterie board and I did not get the cheese or the...
You need to check out the one at Pour.
Pour is my favorite.
Paul came on the show when he just did it and he brought me, it was pretty much all the meat. And then they have, bacon butter is what he's calling. It's like rendered pork fat almost, but it tastes like bacon and it's butter and it's just so good. I guess you can't eat it with the bread though. But so I don't know what you would eat it with.
I can make a bulletproof coffee with it.
Oh, yes. There you go. You could have your after dinner coffee with that. All right. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we have more with Christina. So come back to us. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
And now, we talk about food. It's the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Welcome back to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffany Deku, and we've been talking with Christina Shirillo, who is the Primitive Paleo. So you are a private chef as
Correct.
Well. Okay,
yes.
So if people are interested in obtaining your services, where can they go to do that?
Right now, I'm actually working with a marketing team to get my website and blog up, which is going to probably happen in the next month. But the best way to find me is Instagram. And I have my email on there. for everyone. I do have a Facebook page, but I don't really do much on it. So Instagram is my main hub right now.
And it's great. You get all kinds of pictures, places that she goes around town. Like I said, I love the fact that she eats pepperoni for breakfast. And lots of avocado. Like avocado is like a paleo best friend.
It's a delicacy.
Yeah.
I literally have avocados in my purse at all times.
What? I have a friend that just eats straight avocado.
I do. In class.
With salt on it. It's great. I have to eat it with something. Like I love me some avocado. That was one of the things that I learned to love. Brussels sprouts to roasted in bacon.
I'm going to literally leave here and go eat Brussels sprouts.
I'm eating it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So tonight I'm probably not eating so healthy. But tomorrow night I plan on making a venison meatloaf, and I don't put breadcrumbs in my meatloaf. And then I'm doing like a braised red cabbage and the Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night
I'm coming over for dinner.
Gets the approval. I know my friend was like, "Oh, I'm so coming over just for the meatloaf."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm doing this braised cabbage." He was like, "Ooh, meatloaf." I was like, "Well, what about the veggies?" He's like,
sounds
"That's
amazing."
good too." But I'm like, I'm more excited about the veggies than the meatloaf.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about what are some paleo-friendly restaurants in town, or maybe options on the menus in town.
Okay, so one of my favorites, it's a kind of fast casual, but Chipotle all the way. I get a salad with like meat, fajita vegetables, pico de gallo, really good. Mexican's really easy to kind of paleofy and manipulate because you can always get fajitas. You can always eliminate the rice and beans and the corn and the tortillas and the sour cream and just have a bunch of veggies, ask for extra avocado. Other good farm to table, like organic, local type restaurants that I really enjoy. St. Street Inn has a great menu. Dark Roux. Social has a wonderful hanger steak.
She actually did an off menu. It was like a secret menu.
Yes.
And it was a zoodles, the zucchini noodle shrimp pasta.
Yes. And then also they will... any restaurant is there, especially in Lafayette. I mean, they're very hospitable, so they will manipulate the menu for you. At Social, like this steak, the hanger steak usually comes with like hand cut russets, I think, and I always sub it for the garden vegetable, and they have no problem with that. I also love favorite probably in Lafayette, Pamplona tapas. I mean, there's so many good options. Ruth's Chris, you could always get a steak.
Right.
There's a lot of places in Lafayette that are really good to eat. Let me think of where else I've been. Cafe Vermilionville, I went recently. They had some good fish dishes, really fresh. And gosh, so many.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So pretty much what you're saying is you can go into any restaurant and find an item or ask to modify the item a little bit.
They're all going to have some form of grilled meat somewhere, whether you have to ask them for it or not. If they're going to have it, they're going to have things like olive oil and vinegar to put on salads instead of salad dressings. You always have a salad option usually, unless it's like a burger place that doesn't, have any, but you can still get a protein style burger, which is one of my favorites.
And can we talk about for a minute? So sweet potatoes are on paleo,
correct,
but not necessarily eating sweet potato fries.
Correct, because sweet potato fries 90% of the time in a restaurant, or if you buy them like in a bag from a grocery store, if you look on their ingredient list, the maybe fourth or fifth ingredient is sweet potato. The first, second, third is usually some flour, usually some other ingredient. Even if it is the first ingredient, it still has a lot of other bulking agents, essentially. So yeah, and they're usually fried in like pretty processed vegetable oils. So that's something you want to avoid. So like a baked sweet potato on a menu, probably your best bet. But if it has like sweet potato fries, I would just skip the fries.
Rochelle's Cafe does a paleo plate lunch.
Yes,
and they
do.
have coconut oil sweet potatoes.
Yes, those are good.
Are very good.
And that's another, Rochelle's and Sandra's for like lunch, good, quick little options. Those are really great too.
And we were talking about alcohol. So depending on who you talk to, alcohol is, always in moderation, I'm sure. Is there a certain time period did you have to wait to consume alcohol? Because I know like with Atkins, when you're in the induction phase, like you can't have alcohol. but then afterwards you could have like a glass or two of wine in moderation.
So typically, like with paleo, you can, it's a personal preference. Of course, I wouldn't ever tell someone, I think drinking multiple times throughout the week, multiple drinks. We're from Acadiana, so that's pretty normal for us. But for me, I drink maybe twice a month, and that just works for me. But as far as like paleo, ketosis, you probably don't want to drink if you're trying to put yourself through ketosis because your body breaks that down as sugar. There is periods later where, like we were talking about that cyclical pattern of eating. No one should live so rigidly all the time and never have a glass of wine or a drink. But ketosis, that would be pretty hard for your body to produce adequate ketone bodies. But paleo, I drink probably a couple times a month for celebrations, special occasions.
Where does whiskey fit into this?
Well, whiskey is grain-based.
I know, but I was like, it has 0 carbs.
Yeah, whiskey, if you're going to drink, I tell people it's those sugary cocktails and all the mixers that get
drink
you.
It straight.
Yes, that's pretty high five on that one. But like an old fashioned, probably has a lot of sugar. But if I go out to dinner and I order a drink, it's usually going to be some form of like clear liquor. So I prefer tequila, preferably it's fermented from agave, or vodka or gin. And I get really like lemon, lime, basil, mint. Yes, fresh herbs, fresh spices, even like pickled jalapeno is really good. I love a mojito. A mojito is really good, like simple to make, kind of health conscious because you can just ask for no simple in it. And it's essentially just like muddled mint and it's really good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And that kind of goes, so right now the trend in cocktails is garden to glass. So it's all like fresh herbs and everything. Yes. So it kind of goes with that a little bit. And then is red wine better than white wine? How does champagne?
So champagne's probably like pretty sugary. Yeah. And so is white wine. Red wine is going, especially like a Cabernet, it's going to be less in sugar. You just want to be mindful. I know a lot of people who get these like crazy migraines from red wine, and I experienced that kind of within the last year when I'm a wino. I'm Italian. Trillo is Italian, so I love a good glass of wine. But you just want to be careful of the source, the sustainability, the sulfites, in the red wine. But there is some benefit, some antioxidant benefit, but don't harp on it. You're not going to like transform your metabolic health by drinking.
It says like a glass of red wine is equivalent to an hour in the gym.
No.
So if I drink a bottle of wine, I'm doing well, right?
We're going to, sure.
No.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're going to say no.
Yeah.
But there are those crazy studies out there.
There are.
We have about a minute left. So I want to ask you, whenever you do indulge, what do you indulge in?
Oh my gosh. Okay. First thing that comes to mind right now immediately, kryptonite, Mesh's donut, glazed, warm, fresh.
It's pretty much like
it's the best
heroin.
thing.
I've talked about drugs a lot on this episode.
No, it really is. I've had donuts from like all over the world. Nothing beats a Mesh's donut.
And like that first bite, especially
it's like fluffy and crispy, but then it just, oh my gosh.
So I work in a doctor's office and they bring donuts.
There's Mesh's donuts in your office right now.
Probably so.
We're going to eat them. No, I'm kidding.
But the good thing for me is if they're not warm, I kind of don't want them.
Me too.
So if they're hot, it's harder for me to say no. But if they're like it's fresh from the oven, I'm like, oh yeah, this is no.
It's the best. So it's like seriously the best thing, and it's not even. I don't even want like the sprinkles, all that Oreo. Not like I mean that's amazing, but just
a straight up glazed donut.
Yes.
And dark chocolate is okay on paleo.
Dark chocolate
What is the percentage that it has to be though? 70%
or higher.
Okay.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Yes.
The darker the better.
Yes. Absolutely.
And we were talking about we're obsessed with the Hail Mary.
Hail Mary Miracle Tarts. I get mine from Whole Foods, and they're basically like 6 ingredients, like coconut based, super pumped with healthy fats. Super decadent. If you're a chocolate lover, go get one now.
They're so good. I got one Friday. I got the chocolate mint, which is, they have chocolate mint and then they have chocolate almond butter, which are both my favorite
and they have
combination
just chocolate
of chocolate. So I was like, I need this today. And it's kind of healthy. I'll just say it's healthy. Christina, we have to have you on again because we didn't even make a dent into everything that we had planned on talking about for today's show. So you're going to have to come back. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
Tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join us next week, Sunday at 6 p.m. This has been Tiffany Deku on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. And this has been the Lafayette Food Junkie Show. Thanks for listening. And as always, happy eating, Acadiana.